Well, here it is. I don't think anyone's tuned in yet, but here's the live stream for an MX-69 build. See if I just gather some shit to put one of these together real quick. Alright, so here's what I got. I got the MX-69 printed parts. It's like this is the display side. Has some like areas to put contact stuff in. This is the cam side. It has these two holes and these two little tabs right there for your camera. And then you'll need a V760 or a V780. Either will work, but I would suggest to do the 60 because it'll save you money by not having to buy the more expensive V780s. To take these apart, there's some really tiny screws on the back, and just bear with me while I set up my screwdriver to take those out. Tiny bit That's going to make things a lot more interesting. The screws on the back of V760 are a 0.9 millimeter, so they're super tiny. 0.9 millimeter doesn't come in like pretty much any conventional Allen key set. I got mine from a electronics kit at Harbor Freight. What's nice about that is the 0.9 can wear out pretty quickly, so like Harbor Freight has that warranty on their tools, so you can just get a new one when it wears out. Unfortunately, my bit appears to be gone, so gotta find the fucking package for it at least. So the Harbor Freight package comes like this. I think this is the bit right here. Super tiny Allen key. Super tiny. If you don't have that small of an Allen key, you can try and like fudge it out with a flathead or something. But those are some tiny grub screws. At the very worst, oh no, what the hell? That does not fit that. At the very worst, you can like cut/grind them out. I've done that a couple times because sometimes these little grubs will strip and they'll be stuck. But there's a secret to pulling these grub screws out. So start on one screw, and if you twist it and it doesn't easily turn, like if it doesn't just easily start twisting out, skip it and go to the one on the opposite side, because one will have more tension than the other. So that's what I normally do. All these ones twisted out easily, but if you like come across one that's just like you're twisting it and you're like giving it some good pressure and it doesn't seem like it's gonna budge, before you strip it, you'll want to just go to the other side. Once you got the 4 grub screws out, I just threw them away because I'm not planning on using the V760 body anymore. Just kind of hold your fingers on the back and twist, and then you'll have something like this. Now this takes a small Phillips head. There's 4 screws in there. Yeah, there is actually. You can get into the cam settings and change that. I haven't messed around with that a whole lot, but I'm thinking I'm gonna have to for the quad build because just the way that the tubes are gonna be sitting, I'm gonna have to do something different about it. Anyways, you get in there and you pop the side most screws out, and then you should be able to push this from the front back, and just don't push directly on the screen, kind of push around it, and then you'll have something like this. So it's kind of important to note that there's a couple different types of screens that can come in the V780s. Let me grab a couple examples here, or V760s or 780s. So what we have here, I would call the flat display with IC, and there's a little, I don't know what the module is, but the little module on the ribbon cable itself, and the display is like this. It's nice and flat. Then there's these are the fat boy displays. These came on a lot of older model ones. Like if you got in a V760 and it came in a black like glasses case, it probably has one of these in there. So that's something to pay attention to. Newer models, like I'm pretty sure all the V780s are shipping with a flat display without the IC on it, and that's like the newest display from Sony, which is nice that those are in there. But I don't notice a whole lot of performance difference in the displays themselves. But yeah. So one another thing to note is if you toast your display module, these displays are good. It's just the board that goes bad. Because I've tested all of my displays that came off of bad modules on a known good board, and they were still good. So that's an upside because those displays are like $40 on eBay. I think the price actually went up recently. But yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. Oh, dude, are you asking about my phone? Oh, I'm filming on my freaking old iPhone here, and it's like locked in vertical mode when I go live on YouTube, so I can't change that. Sorry, it's gonna have to just be like this. I can bring it up. That helps. But yeah. So once we're at this point, there is inconsistencies in this wiring harness, the colors, so you can't rely on the colors for what the pinout is going to be. You're going to have to go by the actual pin numbers on this harness right here. So what I like to do at this point is take a picture of this, like everything, showing exactly what color wire goes to where on this board, because this board is very simple to work with. Alternatively, you can just this is what I'm going to do, is just clip them so there's a little bit of wire left on the board. And that'll let me know, like, hey, was it the blue wire? Blue wire is positive. Orange wire is video. Yellow wire is video ground. And I only know these just because I have this pinout memorized where red, blue, green, and white are positive, video, ground, ground, or video and ground. And then these purple and white wires, they do absolutely nothing. So with the board and display, there's these purple wires and the white wires, and they should be like the end terminal ones. You can literally just clip those off because they're just not going to be used. So just cut those. I'm not sure what size harness this is. If you fuck it up, I don't know exactly what size it is to replace. I'll try and look into that because I'm sure someone's gonna mess up their harness and be like, oh no, I clipped the fucking positive wire, what do I do? And so I'll look into like how to replace these. But alright, where'd that fucking thing go? Alright, so we know that blue is positive, so we'll just set this one off to the side. It's positive. We know that yellow is video ground, so we're going to take yellow and we're going to clip that one because we don't use the video ground because that's only caused like interference between the two display modules. So we're left with 3 wires coming off of the driver board, and what is it? We got blue for hot, green is ground, and orange is video. So that's not going to be the same on every display module. It's going to vary, but if you just follow the instructions I just did, you'll be able to figure out what color goes to what. Yeah. Let's get my soldering iron set up real quick. So, soldering. So for the voltage regulators for these things, where did I put that? A bunch of them. Okay. So the voltage regulators for the MX-69 are these like small bucks. These ones I got off of Amazon. Oh wait, no, these are a boost converter, sorry. I got these ones off of Amazon. They're a 5-volt boost converter. They're not like super high quality, and this like coil is really tall compared to the ones you can get on Palulo, which are probably more high quality, and the coil is like more low profile, because these tall coils can like snap off if you bump it too hard. But when we're looking at this one, what we got is we got voltage in on the right, ground, and voltage out. So voltage in is going to be 3.3 volts because this is going in an alpha housing, which has a regulator to knock down to 3 volts, 3.3, or you can just run it off of a 3.3 volt battery. And that's going to like, there's not a whole lot of like battery efficiency loss with this setup, but it is safer for your displays this way, because the displays are a maximum of 5 volt input and they run pretty decently at 3.3. So kind of the way this setup goes is voltage in, ground, and voltage out. What I do is I keep this like this, right? And here's how everything is gonna like kind of fit in there. We're gonna remove the board and display off of that, but we don't need to do that yet. What you will need is some like 90-degree pins. Let me just get some of those out real quick. Alright, some of these like 90-degree pins, I don't know what else to call them, header pins, whatever. You only need 2 of them. I'll go ahead and snip the plastic off. Alright, so you only need 2 pins. And these pins are going to go in your voltage in and ground terminals. And what I like to do is see if I can do it with my fingers. Probably can't. Slide this black piece down to get it closer to that end, because what you'll need is the you'll need the pins to be like just barely flush with this part of the board here, and you'll want like more height than anything on them, because they're gonna come up, and it's gonna be hard to like mock this up, but they're gonna come up and over on top of here, and that's gonna like give you your solder points for your contacts. They're gonna come in just like that, if that makes sense. But I mean, maybe it'll work with the plastic all the way down, but I don't think it will. I'm just gonna like push on the plastic with some pliers to hopefully slide it. man. Alright, so I'm just like kind of inching these pins in a little bit. So just pushing on the end of the pin and on the plastic, sliding that black piece down. FPV Google displays? Like, not really, because those goggles are pretty expensive, and generally it's a one solid display, and that's not really what we're looking for here. We want to have like articulating bino type setups. Yeah, so we got that piece kind of set up so the pins are just barely sticking through the board. That should be plenty fine. And then I'm just gonna kind of set this here, mock it up where it's a good angle. See if the soldering iron is hot. Should be pretty hot. I'm gonna confirm one more time. Voltage in, ground voltage out. And remember, this is a boost converter, so it takes 3.3 in and puts 5 volts out. I haven't torture tested these Amazon boost converters yet, but I'll probably do it just for shits and giggles on this live to see how well the boost converter handles. Oh man, since my eye surgery, like doing soldering has become such a pain. It's like really hard to see that small. See if I can. Try and just solder it like that. Alright. So they're kind of like bubbly solder joints, but those pins are in there. But they're like really tall bubbles. It's kind of weird looking. But the pins aren't like super straight, which I guess doesn't really matter. But try and get them like as straight as you can, perpendicular. And how these are going to kind of go in here is they're going to sit up here on the tube. And because those pins aren't super straight, that regulator is gonna be a little crazy up there. But something I want to like experiment with today is brass contacts. So this is just a scrap piece of brass tube that I kind of cut and flattened out, and I'm gonna mark it for like the size of these contacts and cut it and see if I can just put it on there and kind of solder the pin to the brass. Maybe the brass has to go on top of the pin, and just try and get it in there so that way this brass can act as a contact instead of using copper tape in there and like putting a layer of solder on the copper tape to make it solid. I think this brass might be a better option. Anybody in the comments have any like suggestions on what that would be? Anti-static mat. I don't know, man. Doesn't matter. I have like a layer of Kapton tape right here, which I normally like push things against when I do my soldering. I normally do it right here. It's just at the edge of my desk. And I don't know, I've never like damaged anything, I guess, from soldering, but I normally do it on the Kapton tape to protect the table. But it's just a shitty workbench anyways, so. Yeah, now I'm gonna like grab my calipers, and I think I previously marked this. There's like a flat end, a more flat end of this brass versus like one end that's kind of jagged. And I kind of marked it. There's a little mark, might be visible. It's a line going across, and that's where I plan on cutting it. I mean, maybe when I like start working with thermal cores and stuff, I'll do that more. One of those mats. You're just talking about like the rubber silicone mat thing. I might do that when I get one of those, or do more work with the thermal cores. I plan to get some cores soon, but they're just like stupid expensive, and it's just not in the budget right now. I got a core to like mess around with, and it was super cheap, but it's like huge, and it's not like a it's not like a repeatable thing, so I don't plan to like make a official design for it or anything. These pliers are not holding that thing very good. Let me see if I got anything else. My fucking scripts are not gonna work. They're actually not super hard to build. I'm like trying to do an extra step here, which makes it maybe a little more complicated, but generally it's not like a crazy build. I don't know what a patina is. Yeah, these fucking things are not gonna work. Alright, I guess I'm gonna scrap the brass idea for now because it's just not fucking working. I figured that was gonna be the issue. So instead, I have some copper tape, and basically what I'm gonna do is throw some copper tape down in here, and then when I put the pins on, I'm gonna put a layer of solder on it. But what I'm gonna do actually with the copper tape, it might, it does oxidize like right after you like touch it for a while, but with the way the spring contacts are, the brass never really moves. You can score it and snap it off. It's not straight though. It's like it was part of a tube, brass tube, and I did score it a little bit with like my calipers, but that's not gonna snap off. It's pretty bendable. Try the old Creality clippers. See what that does. Yeah, that's not doing nothing. Nope. Yeah, well, made a nice little indent. Oh, doesn't look like it's really gonna do much. Let's see. We'll try the bend it back and forth method, I guess. See if we can get that to do something. We'll grab it right here. Then I have little faith that this is gonna work, but we'll see. No, it's just too much of a hassle. I'm not gonna fuck with that. I'll probably like, I don't know, maybe I'll get like a brass sheet and just do little cuts on my mill. That's probably a pretty good idea. I don't have any of that, but yeah, probably a good idea. let's see. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is get some isopropyl alcohol. I just like to like prep surfaces before I use this copper tape to make it stick better. These are actually some lens wipes. They're just cheap fucking wipes. I got tons of them. I'm gonna try this first. Just try and get any like finger grease and stuff out of those channels. Alright, and then the copper tape, I cut like a significantly longer section than what's going to be needed, but basically I'm going to bring it on the contact and then onto the face of the tube itself, because with the digital being so touchy, I think it's good to like do a continuity test to make sure if you're building your tube that you're not going to short it out, because they're kind of expensive, and the digital tubes are more hardy or less hardy than the analog tubes. Like an analog tube can handle being shorted a little bit, but obviously it's not super good for it. But their analog tubes have some decent like protection built in. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting the tape in that channel, and this channel should be perfectly lined up with the contact, but yeah, and then I'm going to bring it onto the face of the tube itself, just tuck it around in there a little bit, and that's just going to give me something when this is in the housing, like a touch point, so I can just probe the two to make sure they don't have continuity. And then yeah, I'm just going to kind of rub this in here, the pliers, make sure it's getting a good stick to it. And then what I'm actually going to do is like basically fill this with solder. Static protected? No clue. I don't know like a shit ton about actual intensifier tubes. I know a little bit from breaking some of my own, but yeah, I don't know like a ton when it comes to them. And there's some like really smart dudes in the Discord that have a lot of experience with intensifier tubes, so they're kind of more equipped to answer questions like that. I'm pretty noob when it comes to tubes. Alright, so there's a crease in this piece of tape, but that's fine. Now the negative contact in the PVS-69s is literally just on the other side. Like if you put a piece of copper tape there on the positive side and a little piece here on the negative side, that's all the contact area you need for the PVS-69s. But if you like plan on running these in some other kind of high speed housing, then I would fill out this entire area, because this entire area is about the same area as a MX-10160. I did find out something in the PVS-69s that I had not thought about. Some tubes have a like large ground contact area that actually extends to the other side of the positive, and like tubes like L3 tubes don't have that, and their pins are like spread like a lot further apart, and they're not directly compatible with the PVS-69s unless you use a piece of copper tape on the ground pin to bring it closer to the positive pin, which I've done and it works, so it's like not a big deal. As long as you're not like taking the tube in and out a whole bunch, that copper tape is going to be fine. But if you like have to take the tube out and put it back in, I would just inspect the tape to make sure it's still good. So I'm putting like 2 sections on here because I want to be able to bring this down to make a face contact over here. But all this is going to get soldered up anyway, so it'll be nice and solid, like one chunk of metal right here. I'm gonna like tinnerize the whole thing, I guess that's the word for it. Oh fuck. Trying to cut that off right there. The old chisel. I just don't want to like be too far in there to where it might come loose or something, or I don't know. You never know. Just trying to not be sorry. Alright, so now that we got that handled, we can work on the wiring of this. First I'm just gonna pop this off of here. There's just 2 screws, one on each side. And actually you should hang on to these screws because they are used. So don't just like toss them away. Actually, all the screws are used, all 4. So don't throw all 4 screws away because you will need them. 2 screws will hold the board in here, and then the other 2 screws will, you know, hold the cam side piece on. So that way it's on there nice and tight. And I really like the way this fits, man. Like, there's no like slop in it. You know what I mean? So it's like it fits, and that's where it goes. So that's pretty nice. I ordered a bunch of these fucking aluminum printed ones, and the manufacturer decided to change the file and make it a fused piece to make it easier for them to do. And then they just told me that there was an error in the printing and that it was my fault. I was like, I don't think so, because the way I found it out, I got a refund on it, but the way I found it out was the file I sent them was 32 millimeters long, and this one is only 31 millimeters long. And I was like, wow, your printers are really that inaccurate that you lost an entire millimeter? And then they eventually said, oh, our mistake. Looks like somebody changed it. But yeah, fuck them. They know what they did. Alright. So I'm gonna pull this plug off the board. Just do it gently so I don't fuck nothing up. And then I'm gonna set this aside. We are gonna have to do some like work on that, but I'm just gonna set it aside for now. What you're gonna need now is a RunCam Night Eagle 3 wiring harness. And here's your Night Eagle 3. We'll set this aside for now. And here's the lay down here. So I would almost consider this to be an easier build than the 69 Gen 3, just because like you can do all the wiring right here and not have to be like fiddling with shit inside of stuff and like trying to measure out how much wire you're gonna need. Like, all this wire is gonna fit in there just fine. What I do want to do is make a modification to allow for this to come out somewhere. I don't know where I would like have it pass through, but maybe just like, no, that's not gonna work. I don't know. I'm probably gonna like have it come out the front or something. So I'll maybe like cut a little hole so I can run this cable out the front. That way you can make some changes to your settings instead of just having to set it once and forget it. You'll be able to like change settings on the tubes. I also recommend, if you're building a 69 Gen 4, to print off a 10160 tube model. The one on GrabCAD is actually like slightly incorrect. It has the positive contact in the wrong spot, so I had to modify it. But I just did this like janky ass setup here so I can do like continuity and voltage testing of the housing to make sure everything's running properly before I toss a real tube or a digital tube in there and potentially break things. Where was I? Sorry. Alright, orange is going to be our video, so I'm going to give this the old lighter strip. I probably won't do that because like ITAR or whatever, you can just find it on GrabCAD, and then oh fuck, I guess the one on GrabCAD's wrong. It might be on the GitHub actually, because I did put a lot of like resource parts on the GitHub, parts that I used in designing, parts I used for circuit board design, just to like help people do their own modifications that they want, or if they want to like build their own housing entirely, they can use all the resources that not just I built, but other people have built and sent to me to use and stuff like that. Like, you wouldn't believe how hard it was to like model these PVS 14 objective lens threads. So if you want to steal that thread pattern, go for it. It works. It's printable, and yeah. So that's kind of what that stuff is there for. I haven't released the step files for the alpha yet because I didn't want a whole bunch of like modifications to start dropping before the actual housing dropped, because like I think there's going to be some changes. People are going to change things as soon as I like drop the files into the developer chat. Some dudes changed stuff in there, so and I incorporated that in. We just like kind of slimmed them up a little bit and added some chamfers and stuff. A little nicer. I'm gonna need some tiny heat shrink. Bought one, like a bunch of these Harbor Freight heat shrink sets because it's got this really small heat shrink in there that's good for like the single wire stuff. But it's annoying because like they give you like a bunch of this. They do this with all their kits. Like everybody does this with all their kits. They give you a bunch of the stuff you don't need and like 10 of the things that you need. Like just take like a metric bolt kit that you get on like Amazon. They give you like 15 of the bolts that you do need, and like 30,000 like M1 freaking bolt nut combos, and it's like I don't need that. Like, what the fuck? What am I gonna do with that? Yeah, it's just a little tangent. Alright. I'm not like the king of fucking soldering, so I think I've said that before. Just because I'm doing it doesn't mean it's right. Yeah, looks good to me. It's on. Alright. That's true. Could you not see that? I'm sorry if you couldn't see that. I like to work like on my side of the desk, but I don't want to like record over there because then you just be looking at your fucking dick the whole time. But there we go. We'll do that. What's next? Alright, now we're gonna do the so the VBAT. I guess for the MX-69, I would probably prefer the VBAT to take the voltage in level instead of the voltage that the run cam is getting, because hopefully the run cam is going to be getting 5 volts out of this thing, but the run cam's a lot more versatile than the display is, and if you power it on and you're seeing like 6 volts, you'll know to just fucking turn it off right away so you don't fucking fry your display, and you can try and figure things out. The displays have lasted for me at 12 volts. I did have a couple run at 12 volts for a good 15 minutes, and then they just stopped working, and I said, what the fuck? And I looked at the specs, and I was like, oh, no way. 5 volt max, what's up with that, you know? Because, yeah, so that sucked, but... No worries, dude. Yeah, it happens. We'll get it fixed for you, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Green is ground. So you can tie all the grounds together. That is perfectly okay. So we're gonna just do this little strip here. Give it a little twist. And I like to teeth strip the run cam one because it's silicone. Doesn't really burn off very well. And then we'll just twist these together a little bit, and these are actually going to solder right to the board. I guess this is where it kind of gets tricky. You gotta have to be a little good at soldering because you don't want to like short one of these wires onto something else. I'm gonna twist those together real nice, and I'm gonna solder these together first, and then I'm gonna solder to the board just to make sure that things are gonna go smooth. So. That is soldered to that, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the VBAT cable and the display hot cable. And when you're soldering these, like, don't get them all super twisted up because that might hinder things later on. So try and get things like as straight across as possible. So it's not everything's like all twisted and fucky. Those seem like pretty good solder joints. So I'm gonna like rig this up in the helping hand so I don't fucking kill anything. When you're looking at the bottom side, ground is gonna be on your what is that, right? And then you're gonna have voltage out in the middle. Wait. Yo, what? Oh no, what? The silk screen on the bottom doesn't make any sense unless I'm just that blind. Oh, I am. That says VO. So VO, right now, because we soldered it in the right side from the top, ground is the middle pin, voltage in is the right pin, and voltage out is the left pin. Voltage out is going to go to the red wire from the camera. We'll hold off on that because that's going to be the easiest solder joint to make. And then voltage in is going to go, that's 3.3 volts in. That's just going to go directly on our display wire. Let me think of like the best way to do this. I wonder if it's to maybe like lift up this black plastic piece a little bit and like wrap the wire around, because we got quite a bit here. I have to cut off this ball. But if we could just feed it. No, that's kind of sketch. Oh wait. Voltage in is the Fuck, getting mixed up. Middle pin is ground. Just remember, middle pin is ground. And I won't fuck this up. That's sketch, kind of. I should have put these pins through more, maybe. It's alright, it's alright. Alright, here's what I'm gonna do. That's likely to fucking fall off. I'm gonna grab the board with one, and then I'm gonna rig this guy up in the helping hands to kind of barely touch over here. I'm gonna cut off a bunch of excess, so it's just a little bit of wire gonna be touching. And I'm coming from the side. I feel like that's the safest route to go here. And I'm just gonna do a little solder right there. There's a nice ball of solder on it already, so I shouldn't have to like add much more. But now I'm going to inspect this because I'm blind. Well, that looks like a pretty decent solder joint. Nice and shiny. It's right on there. So go ahead and solder the ground now. I'm going to do kind of the same thing. Try not to get these wires like super crossed. Clip some of this off. I'm going to try and come like as much over the top as I can. And just kind of come right down on the pin, and hopefully that'll work. Did you get that first try? I'm scared. I don't know what happened. I can't see that small. Wait. Yes, I can. Alright, that looks like a... I wonder if you guys can see that, if I fucking put the magnifying glass on it. Yeah, there we go. That's a nice solder joint right there. Not touching anything else. Hopefully it wouldn't fucking wiggle in short. Nothing should wiggle in here. I'm actually going to... I'll probably pop this one, just cause. But do like a little instructional on potting. I've never done it before, so I'm gonna have to figure it out as I go, but I think potting these is a good idea. So now we're just gonna take our voltage out wire and just feed that through the hole and solder it up. And this is going to go to the camera. I'm going to probably have to put this one in the helping hands. There we go. Just bend it over there. Yeah, helping hands. Clipped off a little excess wire that was poking off there. Oh, looks like we might have a little solder break going on. Yep, it looks like the ground, I don't know what that's doing. It didn't bridge across, but it like made a pointy. So I'm gonna get in there and clip that pointy off. And see what we're left with here. Alright, that looks pretty good. Yeah, so the new generation has this. This is the Is this one an 8mm? Yeah, this is the 8mm. Wait, is it? Yeah, this is the 8mm CS mount lens. I will have these on my store. I think Voss Draken is going to have these on his store. You could also order them from the same guy in China that you're getting the PVS 14 eyepieces from. These lenses provide a tighter field of view with much less demagnification and fisheye effect, and it's very close to 1:1 image ratio. So like conventional analog nods like these, you look through them and you kind of just look through effect, not look at a screen, if that makes sense. And so that really helps with that. But yeah, so glad you asked that. All right, now let me see. I'm gonna probably make a cut in this right here to give a little spot for the wire to pop through. So I'm just gonna take my nippers and cut it, and then I'll modify the file for a little bit. This is gonna give a spot for the potting compound to go in, and for the control wire, OSD wire, to come out. I don't know why, but my printer's been printing like not very like wall adhesion lately. I wonder if my extruder gear is getting worn down from the carbon fiber. It's a tool steel extruder gear, but it's like I've been noticing the walls have slight gappage in it. Alright, that's probably good enough. I'll sand that real quick. Alright, here's what we got. I mean, yeah, it's open source. You can use it if you want. I don't know why you wouldn't want to make it public. I mean, the PVS 69 project is kind of like a fully open source thing. The reason I run a web store off of it is to help fund the help fund production mostly. Yeah, dude. There's like a lot of different, like, I'm not even gonna say remixes because they're like total redesigns of the PVS 69s. Like, I think notably, Medic Pack, a guy on the Discord, has made some like pretty substantial changes to them, and then he did like a direct thread for CS mount on the front instead of using like conventional caps, and then Meat Shield has made some crazy like spaceman goggles. So he's like made a couple sets of them. Yeah, they look like spaceman goggles. All right, so here we go. We got the regulator all wired up, and now we're going to come back over here to our display module. And there's this piece of like felt tape, and I actually like to reuse this, but if you don't have it, you can just use like super glue or some kind of glue. But I'll peel this felt tape off kind of like carefully so I can save it. I don't know what it is, felt tape. It's like some kind of like rubberized tape. It's very, very sticky. All right. Doesn't look like we're gonna save that because all the glue stayed on the fucking board. But yeah, that sucks. Oh well. I like to reuse it to basically do the same thing it was doing, hold the display on here, because it's kind of like already cut for it, and it's pretty sticky, so it holds on pretty well, but all our glue stayed on this board, so it is what it is. And I did think about, like, hey, why don't we just use this plastic board, because it's actually, like, almost the same size, but that would mean you'd have to do some cutting on it. And if you notice, like, this has got some real rough edges. Sorry if some of that was out of frame. I didn't realize my phone tipped. This has got some like real rough edges. And I noticed that in the IC displays, they must have like ran out of the thick displays and modified this plastic piece to work with the thin display with the IC. But if you go to like the V780, for example, it has like a way different, way bigger plastic piece that's obviously unmodified. But yeah, so basically here, what I do is I just gently kind of push on that ribbon cable to get the display to lift up a little bit, because it can be kind of stuck in there. Or you could just kind of get some tweezers on the side and lift it up. I don't like to unhook the display from the board. It's not like a hard connection to undo, but it's hard to redo and get it right. So I would recommend not doing that if you can help it. With the thick displays, I think the design doesn't allow you to not unhook it. I'm gonna have to read that in just a second. In the middle of this. Alright, so we got it removed. We should be able to slot it back through that hole. And we have our display module. It's a little sticky on the edges, but it is what it is. Alright, ready to go. Happen to know anything about stereoscopic analog displays? 2 alternating input signals, as I have 1 display controller with 2 displays. Yeah, I have no clue about that. I don't know how that would work. But yeah, that seems kind of overcomplicated and not really worth it unless you're like saving a bunch of money, I guess. I have seen like some of those boards that have I think what you're asking me is, can you get depth perception out of that setup? Am I correct in that? You're asking like kind of how you can obtain depth perception having 1 input signal, and I think the answer is no. So if you're like repurposing FPV goggles, basically what's going to happen is you're going to have it's best off to use a single cam input, and you're going to have a BIOC kind of setup. So like a PVS-7, it has 1 tube and 2 output lenses. So you're only going to have 1 image collection area, and unless you had like some sort of way to like process and split those 2 images, then I don't think that's going to work real well. Alternating it, I don't think that's a feasible thing, because you would have to like, for one, clock it so fast, and something's gonna slow down, something's gonna have latency, and then it's not gonna be a very good setup. But you can absolutely do something like a BIOC with it. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how you would alternate the signal that fast. Like if you have to do it, or does the goggle do it for you, I guess. But interesting concept. So I do have something like kind of cool to announce that for those of you on the live, you're gonna hear it, but like nobody else really will. I am working on getting some new sensors, and they're gonna be a like round package with IMX-385 sensors, and it's actually a little bit bigger than what we got, but not as big as I want it to be. So that's going to be kind of poopy. That's not as big as I want it to be, but it has a much higher spectral sensitivity than the Night Eagle 3, and should be a much lower lux rating. So I don't have any glue on hand to glue that in. What I do have is carpet tape somewhere. Carpet tape is so awesome. If you don't have carpet tape, you need to get it. Carpet tape, you can just slide a razor on it and then pull it and it comes off, and it's super sticky shit. I'm gonna do this again. Okay, I'm gonna cut it down to like the size I need. That's probably too much cutting. Alright, and then it's like a double-sided tape, but it's like really sticky. So I'm gonna stick it in there, pull the backer off, and then let it buck. But I really like using this shit on like my mill for holding things in place because it actually works pretty good if you're doing like light passes, obviously not real thick passes. I'm just gonna like press on the display a little bit to get it to hold. I don't know what that is, I'll be honest with you. Not a clue. Alright, looks like one piece isn't going to do it just because of the unevenness in there. So what I'm going to do is fold over a piece. Should get us close in size to what we need. And this shit's like got a mesh in it. And then it's just like glue on a mesh. So it's actually like see-through, I guess. But it doesn't really matter. It's just a pretty handy tape to have around the house. Oh no. Alright, boom. Piece of dog hair on there. I'm just gonna like press it down a little bit, get an even pressure on there. What is cyanoacrylate? No clue what that is. Yeah, I actually don't have any silicone or super glue on me either. I have quick setting epoxy, but it's not quick setting enough, so not gonna use that. That display is not going anywhere. That carpet tape has it strong. All right, so here we got pretty much the entire part of this side assembled and good to go. Now we're gonna move over to our run cam, and what we're gonna do is peel off the backer, and there's two screws, two Phillips head screws. We're gonna save those. The screwdriver's too big. They're not like in there super tight, but don't throw those screws away because you need them. If you do throw them away, I think they're an M2 self-tapping screw. But now we have our run cam board. And interestingly enough, this run cam board has a like tempered glass protective layer on it. So like if you poke that, you're not just gonna break it. So I learned that out trying to do bare layer removal on these bad boys, which caused me to lose 2 run cams. So 2 of these bad boys went into the graveyard trying to be bare layer removal upon. If you don't know what that is, it's basically just you're removing the color filter from the sensor itself, which could, in theory, give you like up to 3 times better capability, but there also may be some issues with like the mosaicing, which could make that like not a feasible option. So we would have to like get into the firmware of the camera and turn mosaicing off, and I haven't cracked into the firmware of these. I haven't even tried. I don't know how to do it. Yeah, I'm not like crazy smart with electronic stuff like that, but there is some like contact pins over here, which I've heard you can get into these cameras like through UART, but I have no experience with that. So yeah, that's just not something I've tackled yet. What I love about this project is like I like to like learn new skills and learn new things. So it's been like really cool to just learn shit. Like I had no clue how to 3D print, and then now I have a fucking 3D, like couple 3D printers, and I have all these like designs and models and shit, and I didn't know how to do any 3D modeling either. So I mean, you can start from literally nowhere. Last year I literally did not know how to do anything. So it's never too late to learn. This is the body and the lens. We don't really need that, so we can just toss that to the side. I wouldn't throw it away, because if for some reason you toast your run cam, you can like do an Amazon return and maybe get your money back. But now we're ready to plug the display in. So if you want to tint the displays, Gen 4 is actually really cool because you can use some of these. These are lens filters. Let's see, there we go. Boom. Here we go, green filter. And what this does is you have your PVS-14 eyepiece. It just screws on. And there's like really expensive ones you can buy, and there's really cheap ones you can buy. You can also get these in a bunch of different colors. It's hard to optically, through the camera, catch the green tint. I did some recording once and tried to show it, but like the camera color adjusts and doesn't make it look green, but it is actually green. Here's like a blue one. If you want to do blue, and there's like purple and red and yellow and orange. I've tested quite a few of them. I actually have tested some IR filter ones too. So this one actually filters out IR. Wow, that actually like makes the image look better. That's cool. But I've tested these out. These thread on the same. It's the same thread pattern, which interestingly enough, both sides have the same thread pattern. I'm not sure what the thread pattern is, but I got these filters for pretty cheap, and yeah, they both thread on. I actually got these sent to me as like a what do you call it, like a test from the guy who does all the lenses. He sent me a bunch of stuff to test because of all the work we've done together, and he wants to see if like, hey, is this a good product or whatever. But I don't understand the point of putting an IR filter over the objective lens, because I didn't realize I had it on my Gen 1 little dinky. If you haven't seen that, that's called the MX-69, and it's an ugly old Russian thing. Latency of these things is virtually non-existent. The testing we did on them shows that there is like less than a detectable amount of latency. So I guess I don't know what you mean by that. If you have a green filter on your eyepiece, IR is not going to affect that at all, because IR is being picked up by the objective lens. so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tennerize these first. I know I'm soldering like directly on PLA. Yeah, this is PLA, should be. So I'm soldering directly on PLA right here. So I know, probably like super taboo, probably not good, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna load this bad boy up with solder. Give it a nice solid contact point. Boom, there we go. Maybe that like melts it together better too, who knows. I mean, look what I'm doing right now, man. This is a cheap tube right here. Let's see, what do we got here in parts? We got a 10-cent regulator. Yeah, I thought about it, but I'm not gay. I don't blow on things. You got a 10-cent regulator, you got a $70 sensor, and you have, we'll just say, like $175 display and board combo, because that's what they come out of, even though you can get them cheaper if you like got in on the group buy. Nah, dude, like, there's like no way to DIY an analog intensifier tube. This right here is the old MX-69. This uses a like $100 analog tube, but this doesn't even compare to the Night Eagle like at all. Like, it's very bad compared to the Night Eagle. I have an Enter 5 Pro. I have 3 of them modified for different filaments. I have one printer that I print abrasives on, and I print primarily in CFPLA for prototyping and CF nylon for when I do actual finished prints. But I'm actually like not going to be printing housings like for people anymore, just because that's kind of like really time consuming, and the cost difference between FDM printed housing and an MJF printed housing is very negligible, and the benefits you get out of MJF are like far exceed FDM. So it's not really a point in FDM printing housings for other people. Yeah, I've definitely added a DVR before. This tube right here is an older model. Took a DVR, but the problem was when I got the video off the DVR and onto my computer, the image was like unusable. I'm not sure why that is, but like you couldn't even tell that my dog was a dog, and then there was like a bunch of like junk data at the bottom of the video. It's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, dude, you can definitely print these on your own. Like, you can get all the files for it. I think I put in the fucking README that I was gonna drop the files for everything to like today or yesterday or something, but I actually meant to do the 28th because I wanted to have this whole month to work through whoever, like the people that got the beta and have printed it and got working housings. I wanted to be able to like talk to them and like get their feedback and be able to put together like a video like I'm doing now, showing how to build this thing before I just like send it out into the wild and then get bombarded with 10 bazillion fucking questions on how do I wire this? How do I do that? There's no instructions on this. You know what I mean? So, fuck, that was right on my finger. Damn. Well, if you bought into the beta, look at that. You're the first one to get like a instructional on how to build it. So you want to get these pins as close as possible because this part has like a, where is it? It should be like a cutout for the pins to mesh into. There's like a little room for error there, but that's kind of what you're hoping for right here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and screw this together right now and then solder the other side up. So using the screws from earlier that came out of the V760 display, we're just going to pop them in there and screw this together. If these aren't grabbing, I got longer screws because normally the V760s have 2 silver screws and 2 black screws. So I was a little surprised when this one had 4 silver screws because the black ones are a lot longer, and that's kind of what I initially intended for this. See if we can get these screws even fucking started in here. Yeah, I have little faith that these are gonna provide any substance. So I'm just gonna, where the fuck did I put them? Give me a sec, I'm looking. My desk is so messy. Alright, here we go. This is just a random little box of screws. Like I said, it's kind of weird that they wouldn't come with, they normally have like 2 longer black screws and 2 short silver screws. And the long black screws hold it to the housing, and the silver screws hold the board to the little plastic white piece. Alright, what do we got going on? Maybe a pinched wire in there. Oh, damn. You guys hear my wrist fucking snapping as I'm trying to do this? Yeah, these are not going to be long enough. That's poopy. I might have made something a long time ago that used the DVR, but I'm not sure. I haven't used the DVR in a long time because I had such issues with it. I think someone in the Discord, Quack, is trying to run DVR in his setup so he can record like airsoft footage or whatever. But fuck, man. I don't have the fucking screws to go through there. What can I do? Let's see if a M2x8 bolt will work. Oh, another very important thing I forgot to note. The camera harness must be towards these pins up here, or else you're going to have an upside down image, which isn't super bad because you can just flip it in the settings, but like this is how it should be. I'm going to try these M2x8 fucking screws. Let's see if these can even fit through the hole. I forget what size Allen head those are. Nope. Yeah. I don't have an Allen head to fit those. Nope. What is this one? Nope. Alright, give me a sec. I'm trying to find a fucking Allen head. Damn, this is gay. Alright. Let me see. What's this Allen head? That's a flat head. No doubt, flat head out, right? Is that even gonna fucking twist that? Alright, this is super gay because it's not supposed to happen like this. If the damn Chinese man would just use the same screws he always uses, wouldn't be in this mess. Fuck, man. What if I just crank it in there with the Phillips? Yeah. Allen head says what? I could fuse them, but I mean, I don't really want to ruin that soldering iron. I don't like putting plastic on the tip because it makes it suck. But there we go. We have those parts on there now. And then we have our pins. And we're going to go ahead and solder this pin and give this thing a nice plating of solder. Fuck, man. So I do actually have my soldering iron at the lowest setting, but obviously like 300 degrees is well over. Get that thing set up. I'm rolling around. Like 300 degrees is obviously well over fucking PLA melting point, so try and take it slow and do it in a couple different solders. Like I said, the contact area is really just like this first little spot right here. So we're just gonna fill that. And then just kind of build it up a little bit. I'm not getting any like major deformation, which is pretty sweet. There we go, that's probably good. It's staying liquid. Alright, here we go. We got two nice little contacts right there. Wow, that was fucking hot. Holy. I wonder. I'm gonna revisit something quick. Nope. I'm gonna try the brass thing again, but yeah, that's not gonna work. Fuck the brass. Alright, here we go. We got that all set up. Now, this is pretty much it for the MX-69. I'm gonna take it one step further, and I'm going to fill the tube through that hole with potting compound. I've never used potting compound before, so yeah. I was gonna use this piece of brass for the contact, but I couldn't get it cut down because it's so small, and it was just fighting me, so I just said fuck it. Here's the potting compound gun. I just gotta find the potting compound itself. Nice. Alright. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. Here's the potting compound. I don't know. It's just shit I got on Amazon that said potting compound. Knew nothing about it when I bought it. Just bought it. Didn't know that you also had to buy the gun, and you also have to buy these tips. These mixing tips. So that was pretty gay. And then when I did find that out, I tried to return it, and they said, "Oh, that's a volatile compound. You can't return that." So, yeah. Well, I just wonder how it's gonna go with a little bit of opening here and a little bit of opening here. So, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a little piece of electrical tape and cover the hole on the display side. And it's obviously just like a temporary thing. So we're just gonna boop. Actually, should we test this fucker? Make sure it works before we just invest all this time. Alright. How I go about testing these suckers is I take wherever the fuck my voltmeter is. Take my voltmeter. I'll just stand it up so I can raise the camera. Yeah, it's a good idea to test it before we just fucking pot it and then, yeah. Alright, take the voltmeter and run a continuity test. And it should just be like, oh well. Sometimes there's like a little bit of continuity, but I think it's on like if you short them. Well, I have another MX-69 somewhere up here on my desk that we can compare it to. Here it is. So here's another one. Positive, negative. And we get continuity. Weird. Is this with IC? This one might not have an IC on the... Oh, there we go. So this one still has the IC on it, but it's getting continuity. So it means I could have messed something up. Let me touch the pins themselves. There we go. There might just be like some residual like flux or something on the surface of the solder, which is preventing the pins from getting good contact to it. Yep. So we want, what was that resistance? Or, I don't know what continuity like measures when it measures the resistance on there, like what kind of, what measurement it is, but you want like about 0.4 continuity, whatever that fucking means. If anybody knows like what level of ohms or something that's measured in, that would be pretty cool. Alright, now we can go ahead and give it a little voltage test. So turn my power station down to 3.3 volts. And remember, the little contact is going to be positive and the big contact is going to be negative. So do not get those mixed up. Let's see. We'll get it right on the pins. Drawing power. Oop, did it turn on for a sec? Oh, I'm gonna shine these up a little bit. Some isopropyl to get that flux off. All right. Just touches the copper on this one, actually. Ooh, that's not good. You might have just seen it here. Might have just killed that fucking tube. That sucks. These things do not like to be short-circuited. Alright, we're powered on. It's super hard to tell. The camera is not showing like an OSD. So, I don't know if it's turned off on this one. Let's see, what can I do to test this? Is it working, Sosa? Alright, we'll hope it works in this housing. Figure out which side is which first. I got a little scrap housing here. Ah, damn teeth. I'm going to do a quick continuity test on this housing to ensure what cable is what contact before I try and do some crazy shit. So all I'm going to do is touch the positive contact and what I assume is the positive wire. And then I'm going to touch the positive contact and also touch the negative wire. Boom. Okay. So we'll take our MX-69. And the best way to do this is actually to look at the positive contact in there and look at the positive contact on the tube and try and line those up. This might not go in there because it's kind of out around. Gosh, that sucks. Might put too much solder on them. Pull that off for now. It should go in. Might go in a little tough. Oh yeah, that's a little more than tough. For some reason the ground pin just got flattened in this sucker. Probably the way I was putting it. Oh, broke. Alright, never mind. Fuck that housing. That one's not gonna work. Gosh, this is gay. Alright. Continuity test imparts voltage. Does that mean you really want to get it going on there the proper way? That's that makes sense, I guess. Alright. I'm just gonna double check this and then I'm just gonna say fuck it. Yeah, it's powering on for sure. Wait, oh, I forgot. Because we put these test pins on the front, we can actually just pop it in here. Any old housing, not worry about the orientation too much. And then throw on our 8mm lens on the front. And this is just to get us a usable image. How should I do this? Rig it up so it's like gonna get some light through it. Actually, can you guys see that? Bring it over here so you can see. All right. Obviously, it's like super blurry. This one's got some severe startup lag for whatever reason. But you're getting an image through there. It's just losing continuity because I'm just not having a good grip on it. But the tube works. Kind of. It should work. Let's just fucking pot it and figure it out later. If anybody's wondering, I'm not gonna like give this tube to anybody because obviously I fucked it up pretty bad. This is like probably my third MX-69 that I've built. So there's more to learn here. Like obviously this is not a final process. For whatever reason, the copper is lifting up here. I wonder if I can like press it down with a soldering iron. It's like coming really out of round back here. Which is weird because it wasn't after we soldered and then it just did. So, alright. It looks a lot better than it was. That was weird that it came out of round while it was cold. Alright. Let's just fucking pop this thing already so I can drop it in the tube and test it. For reals. Unless you guys just want me to fucking throw it in the housing and test it for reals right now. I do have a working housing right here. I'm going to take the intensifier tubes out of it, and then we'll test her. Oh, that's stuck in there good. I use Fusion 360. Ooh, something just stuck right into my finger. Wow, that was not super Gucci. Alright, I'm tearing down a set of alphas that have tubes in it, and we will pop the MX-69 in here and give her a little test. If I remember right, this bridge is regulated, but either way I'm going to put it on a 3 volt battery source. Alright, so we'll gimbal back up. Like I said, the best way to do it is take the positive contact and line it up, and then it should slide in fairly easily, just like that. And this is not seated, and the reason you can tell is these threads are not exposed. There should be some threads on the side there. So if it doesn't seat, pop it out, turn it a little bit, and reinsert it. I wonder why that's not seating. Oh, fuck, that's why. That little OSD was preventing it from seating. That makes sense. So, we'll retry that. Boom, there you go. So you want to be able to count 1, 2, 3 turns of thread, and that's how you know it's in there. I wonder how this OSD is going to work. I guess we'll just have to push it to the side a little bit, and where'd that 8mm lens go? Here's one, but that's not the one I was using. Or was it? I don't think it was, because it's loose on here. Well, oh, it's from in the housing. Here you go. I'm not going to crank that super tight on there. That should be good enough. I will put this lock ring in. And the lock ring is fairly simple to put in. You can kind of just start it with your fingers, and then I'm using a pick. Like eye cups, you don't need to design those because the V760 displays come with them. These are silicone eye cups, and they work on your. Wait, this doesn't have the thing on it. When you get these PVS 14 eyepieces from the Chinaman, typically he includes these retainer rings for your eye cups, and then boom. So they're not like high quality fucking super cool ones, but they're better than nothing. I'm not really good at designing organic shapes, so eye cups are not something that I'd be very good at. Anyways, our display is in. Tighten the retainer down, and probably should have continuity tested it. I'm gonna should be able to just continuity test these pins because it's all in series. So all right, we got 0.5 of whatever continuity measures. So I think that's a fair amount of continuity. If I do say so. We'll go ahead ahead and eyepiece on. And I did modify the eyepiece design. Got rid of this lock ring, extended the eyepiece, the distance of the lock ring, and put grub screw holes in it. That just seems like a better system to me. But, moment of truth, here we go. Tweaking. Power it off, power it back on. All right, we're tweaking. Let me swap the battery out real quick. All right, we got power. Let me turn this overhead light off, and we'll focus the front lens. Ooh, it just pulled out, it didn't turn. Whatever. Let's see, there we go. Let's focus nice and close up. But yeah, as you can see, these Chinese lenses give a little bit of edge warp when you come out to bring it out. Let me grab something real quick. I'll power this off so I don't accidentally short nothing. Here is the eyepiece off of the raffle set. The raffle set has Carson lenses in it. Those lenses were not fucking cheap, let me tell you what. So they're incredibly better than the Chinese ones. Like, you wouldn't think so. Like, you wouldn't think that you could really like make a lens that much better. But I'm not kidding you. It's insane. This has a purple filter on it, which gives a white phos effect on the green, but just a purple effect on these screens. So somebody asked earlier about the green filter, so we'll go ahead and see if we can pop a green filter on there for him. I think it came out of focus again, but whatever. Something's like not making good connection. I think it's the battery actually, because this battery is pretty janky in there. It's like held in by a rubber band. And the rubber band's not even holding on it right now. So, what's the voltage reading at? Oh, the battery's pretty shit dead actually. That could be the issue too. Alright. Let me grab the charged battery actually. Check, see what voltage on it is. I sent my freaking personal set of 69s off to be reviewed by someone who's got a lot of experience with night vision. But I also included like all my rechargeable batteries. So I'm running off of 3 batteries for everything, which kind of sucks. But hey, what's the freaking dealio? Alright, there we go. This is the green. Damn it. It's like every time I set it down. Alright, this is the green. Let me see. With my eye, it definitely has the green phosphor effect, but with the like phone camera, it corrects it. So we'll get it in focus a little bit there. So there we go. That's the build process for an MX-69. As you can see, like literally there is no edge warp to that image. When you take it away, that image does not warp at all. So these are some quality lenses. Damn, something must be wrong with the battery pack. But Yeah. I don't know what's going on with I think it's my janky ass battery setup is fucking with it. But yeah, here it is. That's the MX-69 build. Test out the old green filter in there for you. Yeah, super quality freaking setup there. With the Carson lens on it, that shit is nice. Like, I'm not kidding. I did not believe at all. Like, I was like, mil-spec lenses, how much better could they really be? Like, how good can you really make a lens? And at double the price, I was like, no way. And then I got them, and then I was like, absolutely blown away. I took these out to Target, took some pictures, and they're insane. Okay, I didn't know like if it was 400 ohms or if it was like 400 kilo ohms, because it doesn't like, there's no value next to it, so it just like literally it doesn't have a value on the screen for what it's testing. It just shows a number, so I didn't know what that was actually testing. That's cool, good to know. I haven't seen them overheat. I ran an MX-69 at the range. I actually had a GoPro hooked to it and had the system recording. But what happened was like, the reason I didn't ever release the footage is the image through the GoPro was like this small. So like, imagine this entire thing is what the GoPro's seeing. It saw an image like that. And so it was like pretty much pointless because you couldn't see anything. But it ran for a couple hours and did not overheat. The body, like, the body was kind of warm to the touch, but it didn't like disform or anything, so that's pretty cool. But that's like kind of the reason I wanted to do these aluminum ones, is to just spread that heat out evenly, and like it could kind of soak out through the PLA, or not PLA, but the plastic, soak out through the plastic. Working threads off the printer. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like if you're talking about the PVS-14 threads, it was a fucking pain and a half. These PVS-14 retainer rings, it's just not gonna happen. Like that thread pitch is so small that it's just not strong enough to hold on. Yeah, I actually don't own a camera, so everything is done on my phone. Where am I getting the 6mm and 8mm lenses? I get them from the same guy I get the PVS-14 lenses from. He's on Alibaba. It's like Shangru something. There should be links for him in the Discord, and then there's also links for it in the README. And he'll know, like if you're like, hey, I need PVS-14 eyepieces and 8mm CS lenses, he knows what you need. Like that guy, he knows the drill. I've talked to him a couple times, told him what we're building, and gave him like pretty much a rundown of what we need from him, and so he's tracking. So he's a pretty honest seller, and I've had good dealings with him. He says that they updated the lenses recently. I haven't seen a real change in them. He says the update is the exit pupil of the lens, which basically means like you can move the lens around more without like losing your focus on it. I don't know, but yeah, that's pretty much the build process for these. It's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna try and do like a write-up on it. I'll try and like refine some things so we're not like figuring things out as we go. If I can identify like some contacts to use on the tube itself, that would be great, because then we wouldn't have to rely on copper tape and solder to make the contact joint. There's definitely room for improvement there. I think there's another guy by the handle of Man Bear Pig who's working on a digital intensifier tube. his wasn't the same format as a 10160 or 11769. He was going for his own custom format, just because we didn't think it was possible to fit this stuff in that small format, but I was able to like finagle things around in CAD and get it to work. So he's probably going to follow suit. I think he is actually like going to come out with his own DEET design. We'll call them DEETs. And I think he's using like nickel strips or something on the top, which is probably a lot better than copper tape and solder. I want to go with the brass, but I don't know how to reliably cut those brass pieces and like make it repeatable for other people. That's a big thing for me, is like making these things repeatable for other people at home with like minimal tooling, because I have pretty minimal tooling, but I've acquired some other stuff like a CNC mill, a little power station. I got a Dremel, stuff like that. Like a lot of people have that stuff, but some people don't. You know what I mean? So I want to make this as approachable as possible. We're not like inventing anything new, just more repurposing off-the-shelf stuff to let you have night vision at home at a cheaper cost than what you would pay for tubes. But also, with the new housing design, you can run tubes in it if you got the cha-ching to afford that. Yeah, dude, it definitely is. And there's advantages to starting off with the MX-69. Like, you don't want to like point your tubes at light, and that's kind of something that like beginners might not remember. You know what I mean? So if you drop $6,000 on a night vision set and you run around and then you accidentally look at a street light and boom, you got a black spot in your freaking couple $1,000 tube, you're going to be really upset. But if you get used to running around with the digital tubes and learning the practices that you need to know, yeah, it's a pretty good setup, because you can't really damage these. Like, I'm sure if you lased it directly, it might do something, but no amount of light is going to damage these because they're meant for daytime or nighttime use. It's kind of what they're built for. They have brightness control and gain control built into the camera itself, so you're pretty safe there. Yeah, as far as like PVS housings, I don't know where people even buy those, but pretty much everything here was designed like to use PVS 14 lenses, but it was all reverse engineered, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't have a PVS 14 housing to base anything off of. I just had some lenses and then print, test, edit, repeat until it worked. I ended up going for like a different thread pattern here because the PVS 14 thread pattern is so tiny. These definitely pick up 940. I can't remember the highest they've picked up, but they definitely pick up, I think, 1050. They don't pick up to 1550. I think they kind of like are a small glow somewhere in the 1200 nanometer range, but you'd have to refer to Back in Nine's like testing on that. And then he also posted some stuff here on YouTube for low light testing of these sensors, which reminds me, I got to get some of these 8mm lenses up for him to test, because I really like these lenses. They're pretty lightweight. They're only like $6, which is insane. It sucks that like I think they're like $6.50 per lens, but then you have to pay shipping, and shipping is $40, and it's like, well, what the fuck, man? Because then you turn your $12 in lenses into $60 in lenses. So that kind of sucks, but yeah, I want to have these in stock, these lenses, and be able to offer them at a little cheaper cost than $60, you know. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, if there's any more questions, like, let me know right now, and then I can answer those. But other than that, I'm pretty much done with this live stream. Yeah, I think the issue is it's hard to find diodes between 1050 and 1550. So it's like kind of more difficult to get things in that range, and they get more expensive when they're in that range too, because they're like not a commercial grade LED. They're like specialty stuff that you can get them from like Thor Labs, but they're $20 an LED. So it's like, I don't know, how much do you really want that? How much do you really want to mess with that? Because it's definitely possible to like build your own flashlight, but that's gonna take like a whole other design process. I'm not sure. Knack has the Gal 15. He kind of took that project over, and I'm not sure what that's running. Yeah, man. Should be getting some MJF housings in soon. I don't plan on selling FDM housings just because, like I said earlier in the video, it's not, to me, it's not worth it, because the cost to print an FDM housing and like the time involved and the revisions and all that, it's pretty much worth it just to get the MJF housing, because it's going to be incredibly stronger, more, I'm not going to say they're waterproof, they're going to be more watertight. I haven't submerged test the MJFs yet, so I don't know how that's going to turn out, but yeah. Yeah, man, there's tons of places. You can Google it. There's a GitHub. I recommend going in the Discord. There's a zip file in there in the files channel in the Discord that says like updated stuff, and there's files in there to use the V760s or the V780s, and use some of the new lens combos we got going on to get some better image quality out of them. Dude, it's like way lighter. I haven't put together a full set to test the weight of, but actually, let me check this out, because I do have that other D somewhere. Where the fuck did that one go? Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, I didn't even think about this one. This one still works, so I could just, you know, zip zap bab lap. All right, that's in. I don't know where the retaining ring is on that side. When I took it out, it didn't have one. Ooh, actually, do I want to do that? Yeah. We'll see. Full weight of a digital Gen 4 build. Where is this piece? This is everything for the Gen 4. I'm gonna take this eyepiece ring off, grab my safe. Wait, that's not gonna be teared. Alright, here we go. In ounces, we're rocking 15.9 ounces. A Gen 3 with batteries was 20 ounces. A Gen 3 without batteries came in at about 18 ounces. So we're a lot lighter. And this is with the digital stuff. It's got the 8mm lenses in it, which the 8mm lens is obviously way more than the Night Eagle 3 lenses. But yeah, but there's like this big ass glass here on the back, which takes up some weight. But 16 ounces for binocular night vision is not bad, because this is the digital version, and here is the analog. Analog comes in at 18 ounces. So not super far off, but a little bit lighter. Gen 3 Echo does not take 780. You need the Foxtrots for that. There's not a whole lot of difference in it. You can use the Echo bridge if you want to, but the only difference between the bridges between the Echo and the Foxtrot is the Foxtrot has the ability to not use the brass tubes. If you use the tips from the Foxtrot, the tube interface piece, you don't have to use brass tubing. You can use the brass washers, but the Foxtrot tube is larger in diameter to fit the larger diameter V780. So Here's a V780 body, and here's a V760 body. The V780 significantly larger by like a couple millimeters, so you do need to print the larger tubes to make that fit. Yeah, is there any more questions? Anybody got any more stuff they want to know about the Gen 4 housings? Or if not, we're gonna call it quits for the night because I'm tired as fuck and I'm gonna go play some Rust. So yeah, all right guys, nothing heard. Take care, and when are they coming out? Okay, so in the README, I accidentally put that they were going to come out like yesterday, but I'm not going to release it till the end of the month because I want to work out some bugs. I want to get some documentation out before I get like 10 bazillion questions on it. Can you use digital tubes in normal housing? Yes, I think. I don't have a normal housing to test them in, but the only issue is attaching this objective lens in the normal housing. So the way it's supposed to work on here, and there's going to be a like printed shoulder for these 8mm lenses, because the old lenses used to have a shoulder on them that this kind of like pushed against, and that retained the lens. The only issue is you'd need a cap like this with the correct threads that like a standard mil-spec housing would have, which I don't know what that thread size is. I know the pitch is going to be like 0.5mm fucking pitch, because I don't know why they love that pitch so much. It's impossible to fucking print. But yeah, so we'll need to have that piece made or get that spec figured out. Yeah guys, that's gonna be it for tonight. Take care, and if anybody wants to hop in my freaking play some Rust, let me know. I'm not very good. I play on like a weird modded server that's actually pretty fun, but yeah, just let me know in the Discord and I'll shoot you the server details if y'all are into that. But yeah, take care guys, good night.